I didn't think I would make one of these videos for quite some time, and I thought to myself if I should even make it. But I have to. I have to say what I need to say here. Because it has been the topic of discussion during the week. Tony Khan is, and I've said in the past that the guy's not a very good booker. And I think I've kind of been, okay, first let me get this out of the way. Yes, I have no personal problem with him. Yes, I'm sure he's a nice guy. Yes, I'm glad all elite wrestling exists, and I'm glad people are getting paid, and I'm glad that the company is alive. Okay? I have to get that out of the way. Remember that. He's not only a bad booker and a bad promoter, he's one of the dirt worst we've had in ages. Like, I'm not going to sit here and compare him to Vince McMahon for the final few years he was in power. I'm not sure if he's quite gotten that bad. But for a guy who has been hearkened as being so smart and understanding wrestling, for a guy who himself has gloated about understanding wrestling, I don't see how you can say that and deliver a product like this. Let me explain exactly what I'm talking about. MJF came back at Double or Nothing, laid out Adam Cole, said that the devil is dead, and he cut a promo basically saying he was loyal to AEW. Now, when that happened, my thought was, well, that can't be the end of the Adam Cole MJF feud because MJF had his property stolen from him by Adam Cole, was lied to and manipulated by Adam Cole for weeks and weeks and weeks, and got screwed out of the world title by Adam Cole. There's no way that that's the end of that story. They're going to bring it back whenever Cole gets healthier. So in my head, call me crazy here, I'm thinking, okay, well, what they're going to do with MJF since he came back and cut a very Attitude Era-esque promo and even wore the Triple H jacket is he's probably going to get into a feud, at least temporary, with the healthy members of the Undisputed Elite. Roderick Strong dropped the title to Will Ospreay that he had. That means MJF can beat him without taking the title if that was what they're worried about. The Undisputed Kingdom, Wardlow. All these guys made up Adam Cole's conspiracy. The Undisputed Kingdom, the name of the group. Adam Cole himself said you'll never see MJF again. So I'm thinking, okay, while Adam Cole heals up, you can have a feud where MJF one by one takes out the Undisputed Kingdom. You start with Taven and Bennett, you move on to Roderick, you move on to Wardlow, his former buddy who they broke up before. You can reignite that feud, except this time Wardlow's the heel, MJF is the babyface. Do we have MJF in any way cutting a promo or even hinting that he's going to get revenge on the guys that lied to him and took the title away from him? No. Instead, we have a 3-week build to a match with Roosh. And I like Roosh. And the build I was okay with because I thought it was necessary to reestablish MJF as a prominent face in the company by having him beat Roosh. And then I'm thinking, okay, well, now it's time to get revenge on the guys that screwed him over. Instead, AEW is hinting at the possibility of an MJF match with Will Ospreay at All In. Now, again, I don't hate the match on paper, but I feel like the character of MJF logically would try to get revenge and clear up all the Undisputed Kingdom stuff first, then move on to Will. And then we see the promo on Wednesday where he's hinting at wrestling Daniel Garcia. Daniel Garcia is a guy who I don't hate as a wrestler, but he is a guy like Wheeler Yuta that AEW has tried to shove down people's throats now for years and has not gotten over. Why hasn't he gotten over? Because even though he is a good wrestler, he's not on the level of somebody like a Will Ospreay or a Kenny Omega, and he's also not on the level of an MJF when it comes to a character. His promos are okay, but they're not main event level. He's, to me, just a guy on the card. Nothing personal against him, but he's just a guy on the card. So instead of MJF doing what logically makes sense, what MJF himself would do, which is go after the men that turned him this way, showing them what true evil is while still being a conquering babyface. He wants a wrestling match with Will Ospreay or Daniel Garcia at Wembley. Do you believe me now? Do you believe me now? And I know there's going to be some copium. I can already tell. Well, he's probably not going to wrestle Garcia at Wembley. He's probably going to do something else. I think it's just to help Garcia out, which that doesn't help Garcia out, but hey. So instead of MJF getting revenge, I guess him beating up on Cole at Double or Nothing, that was it. That's the blow-off. No match with Wardlow, no match with Roderick Strong, no match with Taven or Bennett, no. MJF, let me give you some numbers. Dynamite did 681,000 views this week. Last year, the same show did over 900,000. You can't blame the NBA. You can't blame the NHL, which is all we've heard from the copium. You can't blame other sports. You can't blame the time slot being moved. You can't blame NXT being head-to-head. And you certainly can't blame the Kendrick Lamar concert, which was the big reasoning for the rating last week being so low. 681,000 is higher than the previous week's rating with the Kendrick Lamar concert. Good. I don't want AEW to fail. I want them to get good ratings. But a year ago, the two guys that were the biggest television ratings draws for AEW was CM Punk and MJF. CM Punk is gone. Back to WWE, where he's having the feud of the year with Drew McIntyre, and they haven't even had a single wrestling match yet, by the way. And MJF, who I've always thought was the future of wrestling, who's got the whole package. He can wrestle, he can talk, he's the homegrown AEW guy. Yes, I know he was an MLW before in the Indies, CZW. I'm familiar with his career. But he's not a guy from New Japan. He's not a guy who made his name being praised in the Observer like a lot of the guys, at the EVPs. No, he's a talented guy. Why didn't MJF himself not say, hey, this doesn't make sense for my character? Maybe that big check that Tony Khan writes him every week is enough for him to shut up. Maybe, as others have said, Tony doesn't listen to anybody. It's just, even if they do the course correction now, I don't understand why MJF would want to do anything except get vengeance on those that wronged him. His fans want it. In theory, the character would want it. The last time AEW booked a feud that was interesting, featuring guys getting revenge on each other, to me was Hangman and Strickland. There have been others, but I mean, as far as one that really was interesting, Hangman and Strickland was a good feud. Even though it could have been better, it was still good. The best feud in company history, I thought, was CM Punk versus MJF or Kenny Omega against Hangman. Take your pick. And instead of maybe leading to another match with Adam Cole at Wembley so he can get his revenge in a gimmick match, or if he's not ready by then later in the year, there's time. And in the meantime, you book MJF against all these other guys, you're going to book him or at least tease something else. The concept of character and story is a foreign concept in AEW. All Tony Khan wants to do is book matches that he thinks are entertaining, and they are because the talent is great. That is, Tony Khan is a great talent scout. That he's great in because he's a fan. But when it comes to character and story, that's what gets you ratings. And I think the time has come for people to wake up. And yes, I said the 1 week rating that was in the 500s was maybe an anomaly. We'll see next week. It went up to 681. That's good. But it's still low than what they want. And they're in the middle of a negotiation. Things aren't going to change with AEW. It is what it is. I'm going to watch Forbidden Door on Sunday, and I'll come back with my review, and I will be as honest as possible. But when it comes to AEW, outside of good matches, they have even made MJF less of a star, and I did not think that was possible. Was anything learned from WCW, especially with the Vice documentary reminding us all of that? Was anything learned about the importance of character and story? Apparently not, from the guy who claims to know more about wrestling than Ted Turner. All righty.